Hello and welcome to Invisible Threads, the podcast where we unravel the complexities of supply chain world. I am Partha and today's episode is going to be a special one. So we have something very different planned today.
And I'm Anurag. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Tony, the chief architect and co founder of Pinaka AI, to our podcast. With 25 years of experience, he leads the product strategy and vision for Pinaka AI solutions. Pinaka AI is a startup with a revolutionary AI engine that makes use of business data to predict the future in payables and receivables. Welcome, Tony.
Welcome, Tony.
Thank you so much, Partha. Thank you, Anurag. A real pleasure to be here.
And why don't you start with the introduction and tell us about yourself and to our listeners?
Sure, it's an absolute delight. Always introducing and talking about this product called Pinaka, which actually stands for Predictive, Intelligent, Nimble, Accelerated, Keen, and Accessible. So, apart from the Hindu mythology connections that people might draw, the actual meaning is acronym based, and it is about an AI which is smart enough, placed at the right place, and highly accessible. So I have around 25 years of experience. Have worked with a lot of organizations in consulting capacity across the globe. That's when we decided, okay, let's do something which is solving some of the biggest pressing problems of the day. So that's what the vision of Pinaka was. How do you solve some of the most pressing problems of our current times? And it is never a one man affair. So I had to build up a team, and I got lucky with some very skilled and intelligent co-founders that I got. They carry a lot of experience, just like myself. And we started on the journey. So initially, we started up with AP and AR, but our fundamental belief is that currently, with the state of AI, there is a lot of talk about certain segments and certain capabilities of AI, like content generation. But in the entire, I would say, the cacophony of the marketing that is happening around AI, people are forgetting that AI is around since 1953. It's not a new thing in some shape or form. And there are
True.
numerous different things that you can do with AI. You can do prediction, you can do forecasting, you can do decision intelligence, you can do classification, you can do recommendation systems. You can do a lot. Practically, the idea is to mimic human intelligence, and humans are not just summarizing emails or writing poetry. They are doing much more than that. So that's how we started with that. Okay, let's put AI to test. Let's put it at a place where it can deliver business outcome, rather than just
Okay.
some software benefits. And that's how it all started. And currently, it's a kind of a roller coaster ride for us.
Yeah, that's very nice to hear, Tony. And I for myself was very intrigued by the name and wanted to ask specifically what's the story behind the name, but I think you already explained it, and that's a very nice way of putting it. So can you also elaborate on the core problems Pinak AI aims to solve in the B2B financial ecosystem?
Very simply. So, since a lot of the listeners of this podcast would be associated with supply chain, they would know
Yeah.
these kind of operational challenges you face both onto the customer and the seller side. So, you have around 2.5 billion B2B invoices getting processed every single day. So, there must be we have done some calculations and estimations as well. So, there must be around 317,000 companies across the world. Total
Yeah.
invoices processed every day between B2B is 2.5 billion. It will be no surprise if I say that 40 to 60% of these invoices get paid late by at least 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
At least 3 to 6 months. Now, if you see, that's like a quarter of a year, or maybe more than that for some businesses in some trades. And the more complex your supply chain is, the more likelihood that you will receive your payment from your customer late. Now, what that also means is
Yeah.
that in order to meet your overheads and in order to pay your payroll and your operating expenses, you'll need working capital, and you'll take a line of credit because you have to pay suppliers, you have to pay overheads, you have to pay salaries, you have to pay utility bills, different things. So, what ends up happening is, first, the money that belongs to you is coming late to you, and you do not have any visibility whether it will come or not and how fast it will come. Second
Yeah.
is second point to consider is that in order to manage your operational expenses, you are incurring interest burden. And we have seen this. We have seen some of the largest CPG companies, which are number one in their space. These companies are funding, they are taking loans to the tune of 80 to 90% of their accounts receivable. That much of interest payment is on them every year, and this is a kind of a regular pattern. We had a chance and a privilege to speak with one such CPG CFO who gave us a kind of a very interesting metaphor. He said that this has become an itch which people have forgotten to scratch.
Hmm.
It has become
True.
so usual. So that's how we started. So the problem was late payments, working capital, DSO, revenue leakage. This was the problem statement in very simple terms,
Okay.
and we took a different approach to solve it. So instead of building workflow orchestration systems and automation systems in order to fasten up the cycle when the customer says no, we said, okay, can we build something on the day of the order entry itself? If there is an AI which is giving relevant predictions of what all will go wrong with this order and invoice and payment ultimately,
Hmm.
then the seller company has a real chance of getting those issues resolved even when the due date, even before the due date comes over, right?
Right.
So that's the core of Pinaka. So order entry itself, this sits on your existing technology stack. It is able to tell you there is a 30% chance there will be a pricing issue, there is a 70% chance there will be a trade promotion issue. And not just that, it will give you a recommendation as well. So for pricing issue, reach out to maybe Partha, who's the pricing specialist, and for trade promotion, reach out to so and so. So, and it is able to monitor, track, and manage those workflows as well. So you are putting AI in advance so that, and you are changing the core premise of keeping your house in order. So try to see it like this, visualize it like this. There are two ways to clean a house. One way is you invest into labor, invest into equipment, invest into supplies in order to keep cleaning it as it keeps on getting dirty.
Yeah.
That's one, right? The other approach to cleaning your house is, if I make your house inside of a vacuum so dirt can't even enter, do you need all that paraphernalia in order to clean it on an ongoing basis? So
Yeah.
I have created a kind of a permanent vacuum. So instead of resolving business exceptions once they happen, can we create an ongoing system? Can we create an intelligence driven system by which you do not have to resolve exceptions because the exceptions are not getting born in the first place? Then this will highly optimize your quality of invoices. It will optimize what you are processing. It will optimize the cost of operations as well, because proactive effort will always cost you less, reactive will
Yeah.
always be costing you more. So that was the core premise, and then we expanded into different diversified use cases to this idea, like taking it to accounts payable side, where capturing discounts, people sign up discount rates but they are never able to capture those discount rates, discount terms. Then taking it to AI based invoice factoring for banks. So it's more like banks will be able to do the due diligence very quickly at a transaction level and determine what is the best rate that should be applicable in invoice factoring scenarios. Taking it to insurance in healthcare, claims processing, taking it to areas as novel as uh, private aviation. So you will be surprised to know 40% of the flight trips in private aviation are empty legs, which means the flight went
Hmm.
to on a charter trip, but it returned unattended, right? We
Yeah.
use the same algorithm, change the data model, and use the same algorithm in order to resolve the problem. So at the time of charter request acceptance itself, if a private aviation company is able to know whether they will, what should be the rate they should apply, whether they will be able to get a return flight or not, their chances of making much more profitable gains on that trip increase by a multiple factor. So that was the whole idea.
Yeah.
So this has been a revelation. We are still into that phase where we are finding up novel and novel use cases for this kind of a prediction plus recommendation system.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where we are.
Okay, so I think that's very interesting to know. And then while we'll get into the details of how the system does that in terms of the data and everything, but I mean to start with, also want to understand. I mean, how does Pinak AI differentiate itself from other AI-driven, say, financial solutions on currently on the market?
This is a very relevant and interesting question. So what is happening? First, you have to segregate the hype from reality. So
Yeah,
there is a lot of hype, and I'm not saying it just because I'm not trying to put a position to say Pinaka is better, others are not. It's not like that. There are exceptional products into the market, but they get hidden because the sheer cacophony of the marketing of products which are selling 1980s grade automation in the name of artificial intelligence
yeah,
is very high. There are a lot of products which are doing so. If I do a kind of a base level if else logic
mm,
inside a particular data row, that's not AI. That's actually not
yeah,
AI, because there is the power of the collective is not there. If I am saying I am selling AI solution, and the solution is still expecting me to do stuff in a reactive way, that is not AI. If there are 20 workflows talking to one another based on a predefined logic, and the moment a new novel scenario comes over, these workflows are not able to communicate with one another, this is not AI either. So it's very easy to get trapped into this entire hype of AI everywhere, and not a drop to drink becomes the scenario.
mm, mm,
So from a differentiation stake, so try to see it in very, very business centric terms, and that will be easier to connect and understand for everybody. I will not go into the technical side, because technical libraries, frameworks, while we are talking, we can create an entire application while we are speaking as well. It has become so industrialized. So then it serves, where are you putting the AI? So first and foremost, Pinaka is not targeting productivity. Pinaka is targeting business outcome.
yeah,
You have very few products in the market who say, I am targeting business outcome, I am targeting business value. So we are targeting things like, how do you increase your revenue acceleration, how do you improve your DSO, how do you reduce your bad debt, how do you improve your discount percentage that you get from your suppliers. It's very, very business value centered. There is no productivity as a hook in our world. Second thing is, we are using the traditional artificial intelligence methods and frameworks. When I say traditional, it means that you will be going through an entire cycle of checking the normality of the data, then doing the various statistical modeling exercises, then coming with a prediction, because the core of AI is prediction always. And it
yeah,
recalls me, it gives me a reminiscence of this entire Hollywood movie series Avengers, where you see on the screen, you see kind of, and this is something I read in an article somewhere, that on the screen you see Iron Man, but there are actually three entities involved. There is Jarvis, which is the AI. What
right,
Jarvis does, it is just predicting. We are at a 40,000 height right now. If we fall from here in 9% battery, the damage could be fatal. Then there is the suit, which is the hardware, which is basically the execution part. You can consider that is the bot part, or that is the automation part. The suit reacts to AI. AI sits atop the operating system of the suit. And then there is human, which is Tony Stark, the individual, which is basically taking those decisions of yes and no's. So people see this entire orchestration as one being, but there are actually three entities at interplay, and that is something very critical to understand when you speak about AI. So you
yeah,
might have an AI which is making the predictions and giving you recommendations. There might be a human agent who decides whether to go ahead or not to go ahead with that recommendation, and there might be an automation which is executing what you have asked it to do, with least effort to the individual who is at command. So in our world with Pinaka, what we are looking at is, we are using this prediction as a core capability and trying to put a prediction layer into the enterprise technology stack. So if you look at enterprise businesses, large global corporations, they have a system of record which is capturing everything and producing dashboards. They have a system of analytics which is giving them reports, analytics which are pretty much reactive in nature. They have a system of differentiation, in the sense these workflows, these orchestrated workflows and automation tools like bots, RPAs and all. And there is a user experience system as well. but there is no system of prediction. Nobody is using prediction anywhere, not even to the processes where forecasting is used as a word. The
Hmm.
real time prediction is not there. They just take the last year's baseline, put a kind of a layer on top, and call it this is going to be the future. But is it actually the future? Have you considered all the different multiple variables in order to arrive at your analysis? The answer is no. So we are trying to build an enterprise level, very robust artificial intelligence based prediction layer into the technology stack. So
Okay.
instead of taking you from an enterprise resource planning to a predictive resource planning era, that is our approach.
Very nicely put, Tony. And when I was hearing you saying so profoundly about AI, one question which comes to my mind, and that would be really helpful for the listeners also. If you can explain, like, what is a AI and what is not an AI?
Oh, this is a good one. So, in very loose thread terms, artificial intelligence means a man-made system. A man-made system. It could be an algorithm. It could be related to a hardware system. It could be related to let's say, an orchestration of different workflows. It could be a
Hmm.
man-made system, any man-made system, which is able to mimic the human cognitive capabilities in very simple terms.
Okay.
But that leaves an entire, that's just like saying, okay, what is your syllabus for the exam? Oh, everything under the sun is my syllabus. That's just like that, because there are so many things associated with human cognition and judgment. But in very simple terms, if I have to categorize that, you can consider these 6 or 7 categories as AI. So you have the one most common one these days that we are talking about is content generation. Humans can create content, they can create art, they can create poetry.
Right.
So if AI is doing that, that is definitely a form of AI. Then humans can do conversations and be very fluent with language. So you have your chatbots and chat GPT and
Hmm.
whatever is happening into that space. But that's not AI. That's not all about AI. So try to see it. You have a prediction system, because humans can make some analysis, make some calculations, and basis that predict, learn from the past behavior to predict the future, learn from a configuration of variables in order to come with a deduction and say, okay, this is going to happen and this is the likelihood and certainty. That's AI. Then if you say decision intelligence, so
Hmm.
there is a lot of cognitive capabilities which go multiple factors, multivariate analysis that goes into decision intelligence. Just recall the Iron Man example.
Yeah.
Okay, this bogey is coming at a speed of 300 miles per hour. It will take 0.5 seconds to hit us, so we need to move. So that kind of decision intelligence. Then you have the segmentation and classification. What This is a very classic example. You must have seen
Yeah.
Jeff Hinton, Andrew Ng talking about it. What is a cat and what is not a cat? This is the classification. This is the base level classification. And what's an advanced level classifications? Look at the systems which are doing where in the war scenarios for defense equipment, how AI is being leveraged. Look at the likes of Iron Dome, uh, how much accurate it is in terms of determining what is a bogey and what is something else.
Okay.
The kind of sensing technologies many of the countries are using. Last year, I saw something very interesting. So, UAE is trying to do a pilot with this. They are putting some facial recognition scanners across their airports, especially from an immigration standpoint, immigration security standpoint, that they will only pick up people uh, who are showcasing behavioral traits in terms of their facial expressions, their body language, the nervousness, the palpitations, and all that. For additional check, where there the likelihood of finding somebody who is actually carrying something suspicious is high. So they have moved beyond dogs. But what are the factors that dog check? Okay, they have done it with the machines with different sensors. So that's actually a classification system, very classic example. Then we do a lot of recommendation related stuff. So advice is
Hmm.
something, as humans you get it for free. You don't even ask and people give you advice. So recommendation systems, it cannot be moved out. So
Okay.
how do you encode the intelligence of humans in a machine so that this is available to you on demand? And that's exactly what has been a mix and match of these technologies has been done with what is there with GPS, the Google Maps and these kind of GPS
Yeah.
solutions. So It's a mix and match. Now there might be certain other faculties in the future we might see which is happening. Where people get confused is artificial general intelligence, which is more into the form of interactive AI.
Mhm.
So if there is a bot which is shaking hand after looking at me,
Yeah.
so the bot has sensed me, comprehended there is a human being of a certain culture and a certain personality standing in front of me,
Mhm.
and have used a culture appropriate welcome gesture. And the moment a touch or any kind of physical dimension is involved, that becomes an interactive AI.
Okay.
That's like that is no longer the field of cognition. You have entered the interactive and the physical zone. So a lot of fear around AGI, but AGI is not coming so soon, so no need to be excited. It's a different it needs a different kind of technological development. The current technological development is not headed towards that, but you have all these, and
Mhm.
people can, any human behavior mimic will be labeled as a AI. But the interesting part is many companies, what they do, they are doing a very base level, a toddler level behavior, and they call it AI, and they want to charge
Yeah.
money for that AI. That becomes very interesting. So
Yeah.
So on the similar topic, right? I mean, I'll take the same question a little further. So what are
yeah, sure.
some common misconceptions you have seen, especially in the financial sector for businesses related to AI, and how would you like to address them?
It's a very intelligent question, Anurag, but try to see it like this.
Hmm.
This entire this entire lack of awareness is has been existing for more than 3 decades now.
Okay.
So it's like people are buying solutions, but they do not know how it is working. I'm not saying that they need to know. I can use a certain technology without actually knowing how it works. But if I have to be worried about technology, awareness will be my only channel in order to reduce the worrying factor. We
Hmm.
all carry laptops. Do we know everything about these machines, how they work? We don't, but we use them
Hmm.
every single day. We all carry cell phones, so we use them without any fear. But if tomorrow, if we get to know that, okay, this is spying on us, then awareness about how it actually works will help us take the right decision whether to continue or stop using the technology. Now there are a lot of fears that come along, and most of the times these fears are the rational and scientific basis around these fears is not that high. uh, but the past experience of having invested into wrong products and the current challenges that many business executives are going through with
Hmm.
some wrong decisions made in the past from a technology investment standpoint, it doesn't allow them to look to the future with optimism. That also happens. So some of the common fears, first and foremost, okay, AI will take away the jobs. I'll say AI will change the job. So instead of a business analyst, I'll be needing an AI trainer. But that allows me phenomenal scale up capability. If till now I was able to have one individual processing 100 invoices a day, with AI, I can have, let's say, maybe 25,000, 30,000 invoices processed within the same day's time. But still, there might be a human qualifier, a kind of a human eyeball looking at it constantly, trying to see what it is doing right or wrong, if it is doing something which can be very destructive to the business or not. So the quality check responsibility, the Tony Stark responsibility stays with the human, but the responsibility of AI becomes to do everything else for the low value. Another fear I have seen that, okay, if I put an AI system, my data will be stolen. It won't be if you don't want it to be. Simple answer. There is explainability. If you want, you can give explainability around AI solution. You can bake in this explainability around the AI product itself. You can position it like that. That's how we are positioning it. Our security framework is has got 13 layers of security embedded in between. So it's like, and we are transparent on day one. You go on our website, you'll be able to find our security framework document over there. So we are open from day one. This is how we handle security. This is how we want to do it. There is nothing to hide. People get a lot of fear, especially around PI, SPI kind of scenarios, the sensitive personal information. AI doesn't need that sensitive personal information in order to make the predictions. At least the kind of AI that we are dealing with doesn't need that. There might be, let's say, if there is a chat bot which is around assisting me in my day, it needs to know my preferences, my personal choices, and all that stuff. This is the kind of AI which might need more information about me, the subject. But business centric AIs, they don't need, they don't care. There is no need. You just use the prediction algorithm in order to get the benefit, and that's done.
Yeah.
Another I have seen is the around the explainability part mostly. Like I don't understand it. Okay, ask your product company to help you understand it. It's their job. As simple as that. So I mean, these are very high level ones. I'm sure
Okay.
there are the AGI ones as well. Terminator, James Cameron planted some fancy ideas in 1980s that still that continue till date. So obviously those
Yeah.
those are fantasies.
Yeah. So, Tony, how do you see the regulatory landscape affecting the deployment of AI?
It's a very interesting question, Partha. Try to see it this way. So this is something that we addressed in our podcast as well, Two Guys and AI.
Okay.
So at the turn of the century, I think it was in 18th century when the printing press was introduced, a lot of the countries, especially in Middle East, took a very negative outlook towards it and tried to regulate it and control it, because their fear was that, okay, copies of the religious book will be published which will not be authentic, people will misinterpret it, and it was banned, and calligraphers will be out of work and all that. All these fears were there. The ultimate end goal that they did was, it was a self goal. They basically, those regions did not achieve a lot into technological framework for over 130 years of time frame. And there is a very classic example. This has been quoted by the one of the ministers of artificial intelligence in UAE. uh, Now we are at a similar juncture. So you already see a regulatory environment where there are guardrails. Of course, the guardrails must be there in terms of what all you can do and you cannot do, what all different purposes you can or cannot use. Especially when you can create a political leader giving a speech or dancing on a particular tune without somebody realizing that it is all deep fake generated. In this kind of an environment, you need guardrails, you need guiding principles and guardrails. You need sufficient, I would say, restrictions on people, from people to not to do the negative things. But at the same time, if you over regulate it, innovation will get stifled, this technology will not evolve. So a balanced approach to regulation is necessary. I think in principle what EU AI law has done, that is, in principle it is correct. How different countries end up executing it, what kind of changes happen over the next 6 months, because right now it is just a proposal, that will depend. You always have to think in balanced terms, because with great power comes great responsibility. So you have to think in completely balanced terms. But I do see this awareness coming to the governments, and they are trying to take their own sweet time before uh, before launching a set of regulations to restrict the usage or the development of AI. See, it's force the accountability to say, okay, if somebody is using an AI generated image, there is a watermark that is required. That is absolutely fair, right? And put the accountability, like, okay, if you are using an AI based prediction system, then you cannot use it for where human health is involved, right? Or you can use it for these XYZ use cases which are low tier. uh,
That's
that
right.
that's the kind of balance in the guardrails and the guiding principles is what I'm talking about. But outright banning it, okay, no one should be using it in healthcare, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. Even
Yeah.
look at generative AI. A tremendous amount of wonders can be done if you have healthcare using generative AI for creating the diagnostic summaries, the reports. It can optimize the time of the healthcare providers, the professionals, the clinicians who are involved, and it can give them capability. They are already in a kind of a very negative state, because you have like one medical practitioner to 100,000 population, these kind of crazy ratios in different geographies. So if you allow AI to contribute where it can in a risk free way, it's worth a shot in my view.
Yeah. So I think, Tony, there is a lot to talk about AI, and then I think, Anurag, what do you think that we should have another session with Tony just specifically for AI? But Yeah, so I
Great.
think this one wanted to be about Pinak AI, right? So going into more details about what Pinak
Sure.
AI is, could you also give us an overview of the technology stack that powers Pinak AI solutions?
See, we are very flexible from a tech stack standpoint. So it's a kind of
Okay.
a today you have options. You can do it in Node, React. You can do it in Python. You can use multiple frameworks. You can use PyTorch. You can do anything. So we
Mm,
are very flexible from that standpoint. But currently, from a technology stack perspective, what we are looking at is there is a kind of a uh, tech stack agnostic uh, uh, capability, which means what ERP you are, whatever system you are, we'll give you everything in a kind of a secure way, and we will put it outside your existing system. We are also offering in app experiences. So in the sense that if you are on SAP, Pinaka will be seated inside SAP technology platform. If you are on
mm,
Oracle, Pinaka will be based inside Oracle Analytics Cloud platform.
okay.
So you don't have to step out. So all your GRC, governance, risk compliance, your GDPR, security, data privacy, integration, all concerns are completely out of the park for that moment. Uh, Pinaka will remain a black box inside of those environments as well for you. So you will be able to use it, but you will not know what is happening inside unless and until you want us to tell you. We are happy to tell you. We are
Okay.
happy to tell you if you have invested with us. We are absolutely transparent with that. But is it something that you want to know? That is the key question. We are happy
Okay.
to happy to share
So,
that.
so Tony, on that, so you mentioned that okay, you have a technology agnostic approach, and you mentioned that say suppose my client is in Oracle, then you will have everything built up there. So, do you think that okay, that you are redoing the same stuff again and again, because just because the client is in a different say tech stack, what if say Pinak AI is developed as a separate solution in a particular technology stack, and then it's bolt on top of some existing client technology? Do you have that approach, just for my clarity?
So Partha, it's there. So it's like this. So there are three. So actually, there are multiple channels of how you can execute it. One is obviously, as we spoke about, a completely agnostic approach where you might be on anything. So then you have a application AI application hosted in a certain server environment, and you are integrating it with it through APIs, and
Yeah.
those API calls are basically running the show for you. If you are in SAP and
Yeah.
Oracle, which basically covers 80 to 90% of the enterprise ecosystem for us, so
Mm,
we offer you both the options. So that, and the interesting part is these days, these technology players, these like large ERP companies, once they opened their technology custom development platforms open to the entire world, they opened it with a lot of flexibility. You want to do Java, you can do Java. You want to run it Python, you can run Python. So both with Oracle and SAP, these options are available. So this entire question as to what particular stack it is onto, it becomes a slightly lesser priority. uh, so we choose one stack which basically serves us where the development costs are optimized for us,
mm,
and we deploy the same stack whether you want to do it independently, whether you want to do it in Oracle, whether you want to do it in SAP. Now let's say
okay.
there might be a customer who says, okay, I am not on S4 HANA,
Mm,
so I am on a previous version, and the only way I can interface with you is through an API. Okay, good enough. We can do the API thing. This entire SAP in-app experience or Oracle in-app experience was done with the premise that integrating with this will be easier. The speed to value will be faster.
yeah.
That was the key premise. And obviously, we are making it context sensitive. So even if we are putting it inside of your ERP environment, we'll be making it custom specific to your needs and expectations. It's not a plug and play product. It will never work as a plug and play. If it doesn't understand, if it is not connected deeply with your business cycle, with your
Mm,
supply chain, it is not going to work. As simple as that.
right. So when you say that okay connected, so you mean in terms of the data, right? That you need the data of all the underlying transactions and everything. That's what you mean by
So
connection, right?
data integration plus data speaks by itself. So the model has to be trained in response to how you do business, what different systems you are using in order to execute business, what
Mm,
different compliances and dependencies you have. what different, I would say, processes you are running. Many places the processes are very different. Even if it is the same process, it is done differently for certain
Mm.
reasons. How their business is structured, how the business has got different interfaces with third parties, those things have a reflection onto the data set. And
Yeah.
data speaks in language very few understand. So we
Right.
want to simplify that. And without, see, we have seen hundreds of examples. 70% of the digital transformation projects fail.
Mm.
90% of the startups are not able to go beyond the initial stages. Why do you think that is? Because you are trying to focus too much on industrialization and trying to deploy technology in a uh, very cut and slice manner, not making it context sensitive. You are losing out the context of the environment you are putting that technology into, and that leads to failures. So even you
Yeah.
have invested $1 million into a particular product, expecting there might be, this will have a payback period of, let's say, 3 years, I will have this much of business value back. That's not going to happen, because it's you have ignored the environment. You have two approaches: change the environment, or change the technology a little bit in order to respect the environment. There is no there is no right answer for this, but
Okay.
you have to do one.
Yeah.
Of course, changing the environment will be complex. Your customers will not change just because you are implementing any solution. Your
That's true.
vendors will not change. Your vendors will not change because you are implementing something new. So what is better? You climatize your product in order to fit the environment. This is how you take the fitness of purpose. You make it fit for purpose. So this is an approach we very strongly, very firmly believe in, that
Okay.
it has to be context sensitive. It has to respect that there is obviously a training training of the model will be involved into the AI implementation, but it has to be context sensitive. It has
Okay.
to respect the environment of the client.
Yeah. So, Tony, during the initial part of this discussion, you mentioned about the use cases of AR and AP, right? So, going into a bit details about the AR use cases. So, how does Pinak AI it understands, predicts, and say prevent issues in AP or AR?
Help me understand the question once again, please.
Yeah. So it's like, so you mentioned that the use case for AR starts with
Hmm.
say order
Yeah,
entry, right? Where
yeah.
you give some insight to the order taker. So just want to understand how does it Pinak AI does that? How is it feasible? What sort of data is involved there, and what's
Very,
the interface? Yeah.
very relevant question, actually. And it's a question, I think whenever somebody invests into a technology, they should always ask this kind of questions: that how do you do it? What are
Yeah.
you doing exactly? And then only take a call. So ultimately, the data set that you currently have in your entire ecosystem, so be very mindful of the word I'm using, that
Yeah.
it is ecosystem. So you
Right.
don't have just a single product, you just don't have a technology stack. You are interacting with multiple technology products inside and outside your organization. So the data is
Mm.
scattered, so the data already exists. So what kind of data? So you have your invoicing data, your orders data, your customer data, your credit management data that might be coming from a third party player. You have the behavioral data. Let's say every time a customer refused payment,
Mm.
what all different actions you had to go through after that, what was the reason for the refusal, what did
Mm.
you ultimately ended up resolving. This data
Mm.
is currently there in your ecosystem,
Right.
but this is scattered. There is no single version of truth.
Mm.
Okay. Pinaka, by integrating with all these different technology systems, makes use of this data which is scattered and treats it as one unified whole. Number one.
Yeah.
Then when you look at, uh, there could be market related data as well that you can integrate, right? So if you are on a policy terms of doing the credit reviews for your customers every 18 months or every 12 months, but the market is volatile and many companies are changing situation very fast, you do not have a choice when receiving an order from an existing customer, even if their market condition has changed. So a market related data also can be used. Now once you put this entire thing together, then there are two component parts. One is the decision, one is the prediction, as to what is the prediction around what will happen. So there is a kind of a exception catalog, what different exceptions exist, are relevant for this particular customer, this particular end customer, and what all can happen, and what is the likelihood of that happening. This is an intermixture of all these data feeds. Then the second part is the prescription, which is the prescription engine. So basis what is predicted to happen, what should be the ideal remediation. That is the second part that Pinaka does. And then you
Mm.
have the execution channels, which is very standard, whether you do it through an in ERP app, or you do it through a customized portal for you, or you do it through your standard email and social channels. I mean, those are all choices you have. You can choose anything basis your convenience and culture.
Yeah.
So in very simple terms, the data, it's already existing, but you are not aware about it.
Yeah.
It's like
So
Google. So
yeah.
before Google, people used to do research, but it used to take them more time, more effort, more resources to do the same.
Yeah.
Today, you can do search. It doesn't take you that much of resources in order to do it.
Yeah. So, Tony, what I understood is that okay, there are two sets of data that you can have. One is the internal data, all the transactional, and then every, say for example, if you do a credit worthiness of a, say customer internally, that data, and then there is an external set of data as well, the market dynamics and everything else. There about the market dynamics and the external data set. So, do you also integrate with some external, database or system which provides you the credit worthiness of a particular customer?
No, it's like this. It's a very interesting question, but try to see it like this. So even if the market credit worthiness of a particular customer is very high, but the
Okay.
credit behavior with me is not great.
Okay.
Okay, do I shall I be using that as a opportunity? So it's very, so this is where the kind of symbiosis of different data sets happens. So it basically synergizes these different data sets to come up with one single view based on based on accurate prediction,
Hmm.
right? So even if, let's say, the credit score is high from a third party standpoint, but
Yeah.
in the last 5 years term, this particular customer has paid me late by 3 months every single time.
Hmm.
How do I treat that? So it makes the prediction very personal for
True.
for every seller, and that is where a phenomenal amount of value comes into the picture. So I'm not just going by saying, okay, I heard this is a good company, they had a good credit score, but they are not
Hmm.
paying me. So whenever they are not paying me, it is costing me 9%, 8%, or 9% of interest money in order to consume in working capital and pay my suppliers.
Right.
So what is the value of that kind of credit score? So
Okay. So now coming to this, you mentioned supply. So coming to the AP side of it, how does that differ?
see, AP side is a different ball game because the outcome will change. What you are
Hmm.
expecting will change. Your job is to make these invoices ready to pay as early as possible, so
Hmm.
that wherever you have signed up on discount terms, you are in a position actually to capture those discounts. So what we have
Hmm.
seen from our experience as well, that companies sign up discount terms with, let's say, 20% of the vendors, the actual recovery is not even 2%,
Hmm.
right? Why? Because they are not able to make the payments on time. So the actual question of speaking to a vendor and managing the relationship and asking them, okay, we please issue us a credit note, we are supposed to have some discounts on this particular order, it never comes. Those terms are just signed up and then they sit into the contract repository. So with Pinaka, what we want to do, use the same logic but do a inverse, just mirror the logic and apply it
Hmm.
in a different sense. So for AP, you have to see what are the different exceptions which are possible. Maybe run it only for your discount worthy vendors. Ultimately, if you penetrate it deeper, and this discounting can be a significant debt is a restructuring instrument on your balance sheet as well, because you
Right.
you do not realize if this is uh, I have seen, I mean, this entire number of discounts, that if you are on a if you are a $10 billion company, you have got a $6 billion worth of spend. Okay,
Hmm.
out of that $6 billion, you have $500 million worth of discount term vendors only,
Hmm.
with a 2% kind of a thing. You do the math. what all it can release for you onto the table immediately. It is real profitability. Discount is actual profitability. So with Pinaka, what happens is, on the day you release the purchase, the day you release the PO,
Hmm.
that day you will do a kind of historical scan and analysis to say what all challenges can come from an invoice standpoint, what all challenges can come from an order standpoint. So you know what are the exceptions that are expected, and you are able to provision for those exceptions even before the vendor has given you the invoice.
Hmm.
You are able to resolve them. So if you keep those remedial measures ready and handy, the likelihood of that invoice getting blocked or getting parked or getting into a queue or getting hold up is very low.
Yeah.
So that's when it is ready to pay, you can ask for a discount. You can simply say, okay, I can put it into the next payment run. Where is my credit note?
Right. So, I mean, Tony, that's really very interesting. And what I understood is the power of Pinaka AI is in that prediction engine and the prescriptive engine.
That's correct.
Um, so what I was thinking in the background is like, I mean, this can be utilized for multiple use cases,
Oh yeah.
maybe supply chain, maybe other areas in finance. So what are your future plans of expansion or new offerings in your platform?
So we are already, we wanted to take a kind of a lazy ride towards the future, but somehow I think the kind of responses we started getting, we had to accelerate a lot of the things. So we, as I touched upon earlier, so
Okay.
we are putting AI for invoice factoring, which is going into banking. We are putting it for intelligent trip advisor, which is basically into private aviation. We are putting it into healthcare and insurance claims. So that is already there. But we actually have a roadmap. We have a kind of a 5-year roadmap where we want to take it up,
Mm-hmm.
uh, expand into different industries, integrate with quantum as well for novel scenarios. You have to
Nice.
have a sufficient scale once you go into quantum zone. Supply chain is obviously a very natural pick, because today, if you see, uh, there are a lot of dependencies on insurance from a supply chain standpoint, because the visibility is poor. If you increase the visibility, if you increase the predictability, you do not
Mm-hmm.
need to rely that much on insurance. So supply chain is a very natural pick in network optimization, demand planning, multiple different areas.
Right.
Even for that matter, if you look at it very realistically, enterprise risk management. So we can do
Yeah.
a lot, right? So it's all there in our roadmap, but it is right now we have some we have a bigger fish to fry in terms of making this scalable enough where we can get into a mode where we can walk that talk.
Understood. Understood. Okay. So that brings up the logical next question is like, what are some problems if the business is facing those problems, they should reach out to Pinaka.
Very, very good question. So I will keep it very simple and very short.
Yeah.
If you have, let's say, if you have a significant percentage of your accounts receivable which is
Mm-hmm.
overdue, if you have your customers paying you late for 40 to 60% of your invoices, even if it is lesser, depends on the business value. Even if it is 20%, but it is $10 billion at stake, I would speak to a company like Pinaka. So if you have a problem associated with bad debts, if you have a problem associated with working capital pressure and revenue leakage, if you have a problem associated with high cost of accounts receivable operation, if you are running, let's say, 500 people collection team, oh god, man, you are talking about something. So it's, if you have any of these symptoms, please feel free. Log into www.pinakaai.com. You will find all our contact details, all POVs and everything over there. Just reach out to us. If you have any of these symptoms, or you on the AP side for that matter, if you have a very heavy spend but you are not able to optimize it, or you're looking forward to optimize using discounting as a strategy, please
Mm-hmm.
speak to us.
Okay.
That's nice.
So, so Tony, how much time you need to enable Pinaka for a business? You talked about speed to value, right? So, just want to understand the timeline of ROI.
See, ROI obviously will take its own time, and it will be progressively elaborative. So it will keep on expanding as it
Okay.
moves forward, right? So
Mm.
from setup standpoint, we have a 12-week framework. Okay,
Okay.
depending upon the number of integrations you have, depending upon the complexities you have in your data sets, uh, the quality of data, multiple different aspects to it are there. Depending upon how how quickly you are able to move forward with providing the input and output for it. We have a 12-week framework, plus minus 2 weeks might be a possibility, but let's say on the tops in 14 weeks we can give you the day one of a highly efficient operational system. It will self learn, it will start generating outcomes for you from day one, and
Okay.
it will self learn over a period of time. And then we put a hypercare as well. Let's say for 6 months we'll be monitoring and closely associated and improvising the system as well, that based on the data set or the actual data, how the actual model is working, how the algorithm is behaving, what kind of nudges are needed, we'll keep on doing that. So
Okay.
ROI starts from day one. We even have a Discover Pinaka program which promises you a lot of the stuff within 90 days time frame. So it's
Mm.
not that you have to wait for a couple of years to get a payback from something like this. It's much faster. How bigger a scope you deploy, that will determine how flexible you are in terms of making adjustments to the data integrations. On the data integration side, that will give you maximum value. But this is a real value. If Pinaka is working for you, the result, even if you don't speak, it will be visible in your balance sheet. Market will be asking you how this changed.
Yeah.
So with that, I think, Tony, why don't you let our listeners and the businesses who would listen this podcast, how do they reach out to you?
Very simple. All our contact details are there. You can write out a mail to me at tony@pinakaai.com, or you can simply log on to our website www.pinakaai.com. We have contact details for our team over there. You can interact with us on LinkedIn. You can search for Pinaka AI LinkedIn page on LinkedIn, and you can interact with us. There is a lot of POVs, lot of content we have put over there, which is
Perfect.
associated with AI, finance, and very related fields associated with emerging tech. We fundamentally believe AI can do much bigger things than what it is doing right now.
Hmm.
So even if somebody wants to do some co-innovation, we are the company which is open and flexible. We are not there to sell; we are there to solve.
So first thing for me, I think I'll go to your website, see those POVs for sure. That would increase my knowledge, and I would love our listeners to go into those websites
Sure,
and see if those POVs would be helpful for them or not.
sure.
Any last thoughts, Tony, for our listeners?
See, there is a lot of excitement these days and a lot of fear as well associated with tech. But I just want to say it. End of the day, it is a tool.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So how well trained you are in order to use it will also determine how well you end up using it. So
right.
be open to receiving more knowledge from authentic sources. The biggest irony that I see these days is, for at least for key personas, the business executives, the source of knowledge is restricted either to the curated training programs their companies are running, or to the marketing collaterals which they receive, like 1,000 a day, that kind
Yeah,
of a rate.
Mm.
So my view is, does it fill a knowledge gap for you? If not, definitely it is not the right thing. So you have to figure out your own learning plan in order to understand it before you take a call on that. Never, it is said that never take a decision when angry. I say never take a decision about technology when confused.
Yeah.
and that's a very interesting
And
thought.
you will not find any technology founders say that,
Yeah,
because it's a very disruptive thing to say. But
correct,
i
correct.
am i am saying it with full awareness. Never decide about a technology decision when you are confused. Be absolutely clear, only then you can make it work for you.
That's nice. Okay. So, I'll surely like. I mean, this discussion was really amazing, and I myself will go on and listen again to the entire uh,
Yeah.
question and answers. Something I think I have grasped a lot, but I'll go back to it once
Yeah.
again. But
That's right,
thank you so much. Yeah,
yeah, I think
Pratap.
I echoed that thought. So it was very informational, not just about Pinaka, but about the entire industry of artificial intelligence, and then how this industry is evolving. And I think thank you so much, Tony, for taking time out of your busy schedule. We do understand that. And listeners, I do hope that okay, you have learned a lot, and then you will reach out to Pinak AI and Tony if you encounter any of the business problems that we discussed in this podcast earlier. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You all have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Tony.